Okay,
There you go.
we did it. Well, welcome everybody. This is Jax, your host, and I am excited to have you guys here. This is a time for us to get to know who is going to actually speaking at our Sustain Me event. Today, I have Billy from Perma Pastures. He's going to be our other host for tonight for the webinar. Um, we're missing one speaker, but he'll be sending you guys a special one-on-one so that you guys can get to know who he is. His name is Jonathan Otto, and more from him at another time. Go ahead, Mike. I mean, not Mike, Billy. I'm looking at Mike.
That's okay. Even Mike's kids once thought, I'll have to tell you a funny story one day about Mike's little boy looked at a video of me on YouTube and said, Daddy. So,
Yep.
and that's why Mike's laughing right now because he knows it's true. They told me that story when we were processing animals one day. But anyway, thanks everybody for being here. It's a wonderful day high atop these mountains here in Western North Carolina where I'm located. And thanks everybody. I want to thank all of our speakers that are going to, be at the Sustain Me event that's going to be coming up very, very soon. And those speakers, without further delay, because we don't have a lot of time here, we'll jump right into it. We got the great Barbara O'Neill. We got Mike Winter, Dr. Stephen Pidgeon. Oh, Selina Langer. Please, yeah, I got your name right. Of course, Jonathan Otto, who can't be with us right now. He's on the first thing smoking, flying from one place back to Puerto Rico. And of course, the very lovely Jax. And me, I'm Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. I will be your host, co-host, and moderator today. So, with that said, nothing more about me. We're going to jump right into it, and we're going to start with Barbara O'Neill. Barbara, here we are in
Yeah.
West. Yeah, it's a joy to actually be on the same phone call with you. I mean, this must be what it's like for a lot of people when they met Michael Jackson for the first time. But
No, no.
so yeah,
I
you're so
actually got to meet Michael Jackson once.
Oh,
Wow.
sorry to hear that. Um, anyway, right off the Barbara, well, I'd love for you to tell me right off the bat what you're going to be talking about and how'd you get involved with this event? And then after that, I'd like to go ahead and ask you at least one question regarding what's going on here in Western North Carolina.
Sure, sure. I first met Jax I think it's several years ago now, and then we really started to have more to do with each other when her husband Mike got his hand caught in a roller and the doctors wanted to chop, I think, one or two tips of his fingers back, and I said, no, 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 we can work with this. We worked with it, and he still has all his bits and pieces today. So we had a lot to do with each other through that, and I know Jax has been interested in getting into natural health, natural remedies, and teaching on a similar vein to what I do, and I guess that's how our friendship has blossomed. And then I was in Denton, North Carolina. I think it was September, and Jax came there, and so did Mike, by the way, with his hand that's working now. So it was a really nice reunion. And now we've got this seminar coming up. I think it's in March. Is that right? Where we all get together. And your other question was, what will I be speaking on? I'll be speaking on my favourite subject, which is this human body, its inbuilt ability to heal itself, and also looking at what's happening today with bodies not working well and the current system of what is done to bodies when they don't work well, and how I think everyone realises it's actually not working because drugs never cure disease. So a lot of people, I think, are coming back to, well, how does the body work and what simple things can we do to give the body so it functions well and prevent disease? And if the person's not well, what can we do to bring about the healing responses that God put in this body to bring about healing? Have I answered everything?
Unbelievably well. Now I'm going to go into the selfish part of this part where I actually ask you about something that's affecting us here. As you probably know, and you probably know better than most Americans because we do, in fact, live in the United States of amnesia. And most people have already forgotten about it here in Western North Carolina. But right now, we just dropped a video that is absolutely breaking the internet regarding the toxicity here in Western North Carolina. We've tested the water, we've tested the soil, and to say that it is toxic is an understatement. It is absolutely awful. And right now, people are wondering what are some of the basic things they can do to protect themselves in light of all this toxicity that the government is lying about.
Yes, it's very sad, and it's more than sad. I think it's almost criminal what man is doing to man, because the fact is that there are people who don't seem to think twice about dumping into the soil, into the water, into the air toxic things, because the fact is it is going to affect them as well. And we've got to start banding together. We've got to start looking after each other. We're going to start looking after this body. And if the area that the person is living in is toxic, I think they have to move. But then not everyone can move. So what can you do to look after your body right now? Well, there's a wonderful substance, and it's unique on this planet because of its ability to absorb and neutralize poisons, and that is the simple charcoal. They use charcoal in hospitals to treat people that have been poisoned. They treat dialysis blood with charcoal to filter it. NASA used charcoal to filter water and air in outer space. And what a simple thing is charcoal. And it has the ability not only to absorb poisons, but neutralize it. So a simple thing is putting a lump of charcoal in your water. But I really think that the water that we're drinking, it should go through probably a reverse osmosis, which is one of the most effective ways to purify the water. The air, it's a difficult one there. One can do the best in their home for making sure that there's no mold in their home. Reducing their exposure to electromagnetic field and using oil diffusers, which does help to purify the air, the food, that buying organic as much as possible. And I guess you're in North Carolina and you've discovered that your soil is toxic. Can you even grow anything in that soil? So, that's a difficult one. I guess every case is unique and every case has to be looked at in where they're getting maybe contaminated and starting there.
Yeah, it's a real mess, but you give us some really good some marching orders that we can run with. Jax, do we have some other questions that come in for Barbara? Did you want to do like 2 to 3 questions per speaker and then move on, or did you want to circle back? I think you're muted.
Let's circle back.
Okay. All right. Because I'm not seeing any questions. And by the way, folks, if you have any questions out there, please put them in all capital letters, and we will be sure to direct them to whomever you want those questions to go. So next up, let's go to Mr. Mike Winter. How you doing, my man?
Hey, I actually listened to your show a couple days ago on Rumble. I appreciate your energy and appreciate what you're bringing to the world. So as a fellow lover of the land, I live in the mountains on the border of California and Oregon in the Siskiyou Mountain Range in the Six Rivers National Forest. And I'm not quite a fit farmer, Mike, but I'm a surfing farmer. Well, I'm fit, but we joke around that our favorite things to do here is, well, for me, it's fighting forest fires because I'm a volunteer forest fire, and also farming and surfing. And then I'm a jack of all trades. But a little on me, I have a podcast called AlphaCast. I have a company called Ålfa Vedic that I'm a partner in with Dr. Bear Lando, who is a retired bioterrain physician. And we're all about solutions. So we're all about helping our community figure out how to move forward from the inside out on really centered around sovereignty and going back to the land, cleaning out our body, cleaning out our land. So like I have a million solutions for what you guys are going through right now. And I just want to say I'm just so blessed to be on here with Barbara. She's been a massive influence in our community. Barbara, you're you just probably, I know you get this a lot, but just thank you so much. Your profound effect on our community and a voice of reason amongst the chaos out there. And we're really big into going back to nature, herbology. Nature is the way. It shows the path forward. This body is a magical, beautiful machine, a divine instrument. It is the greatest technology on this planet. And when we can truly embrace that, there is nothing that we can't heal or nothing that we can't fix. Consciousness is primary. It drives everything. And charcoal dead on. Actually, biochar is a phenomenal solution there. My buddy Topher Gardner, who isn't that far from you guys in Missouri, maybe he could cruise over to the event. He's a biochar specialist, and biochar is a very powerful tool for remediation of toxicity. And you can use it on the land, you can use it in the soil. That in conjunction with mycoremediation, of course, using mushrooms to bring the toxicity out. Nature gives us everything we need, but first and foremost, it's the consciousness revolution that will fix it all. And so I do an event called Music and Sky. It's we've done 6 of them now. We started, so I'm been DJing for over 25 years as a professional DJ. And in 2020, when the Covidius erectus was initiated, Covidiot erectus, when that was initiated, and here in California, Governor Newsom was saying that we weren't allowed to hang out and dance and hug and enjoy life together, and they shut down all the festivals. We decided, my friends and I, to go old school, throw an underground, basically health and wellness rave, but a festival in Joshua Tree called Music and Sky, and against basically totally underground. We weren't sure if we were going to get shut down by the sheriff. 350 people came out. We did 4 nights out in the desert. It's turned now into a massive movement. We've done 6 of them now. And I only bring that up because for me, that is the path forward, is coming together in community, celebrating life, art, everything grounded in truth, love, and freedom. And when we do that, then the solutions will become quite apparent. When you have beautiful souls like this all come together in person, right? Hugging, talking to each other, because Zoom's cool and it allows us to connect virtually, and it's an important tool. But unless we're actually doing the old school stuff and doing that, then those guys, that's what they want. They want us all separate in our little virtual boxes. So yeah, I'm a generalist. I do a lot, but we're about solutions. And Jax discovered me through my Substack and hit me up to ask me to DJ. So I'll be DJing in a morning event on the little trampolines, right, Jax? That's going to be super fun. I do a lot of emceeing. I'll be emceeing at Anarchapulco this year. I do a lot of these events. So and I go around and do all sorts of health freedom events and stuff. I've been pretty active in the health freedom space for a long time. So I'll be emceeing. I guess, do a talk, and I hope to DJ a little after party as well. It's so important to dance and celebrate life together, and that's really what I'm most about, is just celebrating life and just getting back to nature and really being one in community.
Well, Mike, I can't even believe how much we have in common. I was also a smoke jumper out in California at one point in my life, and
Oh, nice.
the solutions you're talking about from biochar, I just sat there and put a bunch of it on the ground in an area that I'm remediating. So you and I have a lot to talk about. And Acapulco, I intend to go there myself one of these days. So maybe I'll see you down there. Are you going to be doing any talking or speaking at this event, or strictly going to be?
That's been mentioned. I can talk about a lot. I'm also involved with, so one of my big things that I'm really into is decentralization and going local. But I'm a co-founder in a really dynamic, revolutionary, decentralized blockchain project called Cortal. And basically, we're going back to the original roots of the internet. And I talk a lot about that and the importance of getting sovereign in the digital realm again. But I also talk a lot about currency and bringing, because money is the debt system really is the linchpin of the entire thing. And so having the ability for us to come together in communities and have our own ability to transact, do commerce in a way that isn't within the debt system is what I've been talking about a lot. I was just out in Australia, actually, Barbara, speaking at an event called the Living Free Festival outside of, it was at, flew into Brisbane. It was out in the bush. It was phenomenal. And the Aussies they've got a really tight, amazing health freedom community there. And
Oh,
yeah, and I was there with like
yeah.
Tom Barnett and a bunch of homies. And so, yeah, but I spoke specifically about that. And I'm working with Cal Washington and the Empower movement on how to use notice of liabilities to take it directly to these massive corporations and the CEOs and stuff that are putting out the smart meters and the 5G and all that, but then converting that into some sort of positive currency of transactions. So anyways, I can talk about a lot. I'm involved in a lot of things. I'm excited to I've never been to North Carolina. So I'm excited to come out and bring my energy and talk solutions.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I think we're going to have a lot of cool discussions out there. Okay, next up is Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, which I'm not sure is in the chat right now. Did he ever arrive? I think he.
I don't see him. I'm not seeing Dr. Pigeon. So,
Okay, so we'll just move on to well, Dr. Pidgeon will be there, and yeah, so maybe if he makes it in here, we'll circle back to him. So let's move on to. Oh, well, I'm a big fan of this lady coming up, Selina. Are you muted still, or are you unmuted? Okay, Selina. If anybody, um, wow, if you eat salt and you're not eating her salt, um, you're. And I had no idea when I'm thinking Celtic sea salt, I've been buying this stuff for a while. I had no idea you were literally 30 minutes down the road from me because I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be coming from Europe, right? But, well, I didn't have any idea until I went to your website a while back, only to find out that you're just literally down the road from me. So, obviously you're going to be at the Sustain Me event also, and I sure hope you're bringing product. So tell us how you got involved here and what you're going to be doing at this event.
Well, I th don't think it's by chance that my name is Selina and it means salt. So I think I was destined to be in the salt business. But it was my father-in-law, Jacques DeLangre, that actually founded the company and wrote the first book on salt called Sea Salt's Hidden Powers. And I took over in 1996. And since then I've wrote my book and I was going to go back to print with Jacques' book, but there were a lot of things in there that I couldn't back up and he's no longer with us, so I didn't feel right editing anything that he put in his book, so I went ahead and wrote my own. But in my book I put everything that Jacques said about sodium and chloride and magnesium and potassium and calcium and how important it is to eat sodium chloride with those minerals attached. So in the book, I took extracts from Jacques' book about the nutrition part of the salt, but I also added that we have diversified in sourcing our salts, and that's what I'll probably be educating on at the event is showing all the different salts from all over the world, showing their features and benefits and their mineral profiles, showing how we do a mineral profile on every single one of our salts, over 82 minerals and trace minerals in the salt, and talk a little bit about just electrolytes and some of the electrolytes, how some are bioavailable and some have to still go through the digestive system. And that's what I'll be doing, bringing all the salts so everybody can taste the salts from all over the world.
Yeah, I gotta say, there's not a salt you sell that I don't have, honestly, down to I mean, the chicken of the sea. No, it's not. That's that nasty stuff in the tuna fish can. Oh my goodness, the
The flour.
flower of the ocean. Yeah, that's probably
Okay.
my favorite. But I mean, look, I mean, all salts are not created equal. But thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting you in person as well.
Thank
Now,
you.
I Jonathan Otto, folks, is not going to be able to be with us. If you're late coming in, Jonathan is having to catch a flight and he's just not going to make it. But he's a fantastic guy. In fact, he got me my very first strike on YouTube by talking about chlorine dioxide. So maybe this is a little payback, Jonathan, for getting me my first strike on YouTube. I can't believe they took down the video. First time of all the crazy things I talk about, that's the one thing they took down is when as soon as he brought up chlorine dioxide, bam, they cut the feed. So, yeah, maybe we can circle back to that. So he's not here, so we're going to go straight to Jax, who just happens to be the person putting this on right now. Jax, right here in the chat of the questions I'm able to see, it seems like a good way to kind of open up the let's see here. Well, it was here. Yeah. What was the inspiration behind the name of Sustain Me for this event? That was the question that was asked of you in the chat. And then, of course, please tell everybody about yourself.
Sure thing. So Sustain Me is actually Barbara's book, her latest book that she wrote, and it's an acronym. But when I hear the word sustain me, it actually feels more like a prayer. Okay. And it's an acronym, but it's all for me. It's like a prayer. Like I need sustenance every day. But each letter it stands for something. And this is where we kind of, I kind of did the event around her book. So for example, the S stands for sunshine. The U stands for use of water. And then the other S stands for sleep, then trust in Yah or God, abstain from drugs, inhale, nutrition, moderation, and exercise. So that's the acronym. And so when I first got her book, I love the color. I love the vibrant colors and the little pictures that go with each letter. And I was inspired to name the event after her book.
Well, well. Would you like to tell anybody a little bit more about yourself and what you'll be doing at this event? Or will you be working mostly as anybody that's ever put on an event, you know that when you put on an event, you're really not there to enjoy the event. You're basically putting out fires. Are you going to be presenting anything or are you just simply going to work?
The question is, will you be sleeping at all for that week? As someone who puts
I'm
on
hoping.
events.
I'm hoping to sleep. That's because, S is for sleep, right? It's the third S. I mean, the second, the third letter is S. So yeah, I will definitely be getting my sleep. I will definitely be having my water. I will definitely be having my sun, all of it. Will I be presenting? Probably not. But I will be there answering questions. Any kind of questions I'll answer. I will try to direct accordingly. So I'm just gonna be there as, I don't know, I'll just be present and in any way possible, step in. If I need to step in, I'll be ready to step in.
Okay, Jax, I don't have anybody else unless I think we have
there's hella questions for
Yeah.
sorry, that's the NorCal of me, but there's a lot of questions for Barbara in the chat.
Yeah, I was going to jump to those, but in terms of whomever was, were there other speakers here that I don't yet know about? I mean, we went through Barbara, Mike, Dr. Pidgeon isn't in, Selina and Jonathan. Otto isn't here, and yourself. Have I missed anyone?
Nope, I think we got everybody that.
All right. So, folks, once again, anybody coming in, please put your questions in capital letters in the chat, and we'll get to it. So, first off, I'm going to hit this one with Barbara, and then I'm going to open up this other one because I'm not sure who it's directed to. This one says, Barbara, how do you feel about elderberry for immunity? This person's making sure this question, all of her questions getting answered. So, how do you feel about elderberry for immunity? Are daily dates good for us? How about burdock root? I'd like to know your thoughts.
Elderberry is a great herb, and I see it often growing on the side of the road, and reminds me of where the Bible says in Psalm 104 verse 14 that God gave herbs for the service of man. I think it's a lovely description of the herbs, that they work with the human body. Medicine calls it synergism. It's compared to drugs, which don't work with the body at all. Drugs are like robots. They come in and say, I've got a job to do, whether you need it or not, in comparison to herbs. Herbs come into service. And what does the elderberry do? Well, the elderberry is a great booster for the immune system. There's no doubt about that. You can eat the elderberries if you can beat the birds to them. You can make a tea out of the berries or out of the flowers at certain times of the year. They can be dried and used at other times of the year. But I really don't believe there are any wonder cures. The only wonder cure really is the human body and its inbuilt ability to heal. And what these herbs do, like the elderberry, like the burdock, they work with the body. And what's amazing about the herbs is every herb has a different effect on the body. And the elderberry, certainly it can help to boost immunity, but actually not as well as finishing every hot shower with a cold plunge, not as well as exercising every day, not as well as going to bed early every night. And that gets us back to the Sustain Me principles. And we use the acronyms to sustain me because those basic principles, often called the laws of life, the laws of health, they are the main sustainers. And certainly the herbs can come in and work with different parts of the body. You had a question on burdock. Burdock is a great liver herb. Burdock, the root is often used with that. So another illustration of a herb that works with the needs of the body. Was there another part to that question? I'm trying to think.
Someone asked, well, it was also, are daily dates good for us?
Well, depends. They're not good if you're a diabetic because they get the blood sugar level up far too high. But my little grandchildren, when they come to stay and want a light evening meal, we call it a tea, you call it a supper, a couple of dates, a couple of bananas is a nice little evening meal. So depends. For some people, it's great. For the athlete, great to throw a few into a smoothie not long before an event. So again, it depends, but dates are far superior to, say, the refined sugar way of sweetening things.
Cool. Okay, so I'm not sure who to direct this next one to. They didn't actually direct it to anyone. And the question is, we have cats. Can I still run a diffuser in my home?
You must.
Okay, so there was a question in here for Jonathan Otto. Will you be okay? Obviously, he's not here. Let's see. Okay, is alcohol in a tincture a toxicity for us?
Interesting one. It is a poison to the liver, there's no doubt about that, and to the brain. And some people choose not to put it into their body at all. So how would they use a herbal tincture with alcohol? They can rub it on the inside of their arm. The pores of the skin will take the herb in, but not the alcohol. And it is true that alcohol can extract more out of the herb than anything else. And so I leave it up to the person. But at our retreat in Australia, we don't use alcohol tinctures. We use glycerin tinctures.
Wow. So this next one is, it looks like it's going to be the barber show tonight, y'all. So if anybody has any questions for anyone else, please, once again, direct it to whom that question is you would like to ask. And please put it in capital letters. I know some folks in here probably didn't get that part of the memo. This one here is, what is the biggest thing you've learned over the years relating to health? And what would you want everyone to take away from your up-and-coming lecture?
I think the biggest thing that I have learned about health is how underestimated the power of the human body is and its inbuilt ability to heal. And of course it will heal, but it must be given the right conditions. And many people aren't fully aware of those conditions. And what I have taken away from this absolutely is it's simpler than most people realize. It is incredibly simple. And it should be. It shouldn't be complicated. Since we were born, we've been we've been trained to trust doctor, trust the system, trust media. And I trust people are starting to realize you can't do that. So my 6 children who were all brought up in a rainforest, they never went to a doctor, never saw a pediatrician. And if something went wrong, they were given herbs or simple treatments. Well, they don't go to the doctor when they get sick. They weren't brought up that way. And when COVID hit, they all saw through it immediately. And so that brings me back to what we've got to break here is really the brainwashing that's happening to our children in the system, what's happening through media. And that one thing that the social media has done, it has certainly brought a lot more information to people, but confusion as well. And so I like to keep it very, very simple. I like to keep it very basic. I like to give a lot of reasons and science behind it, and to teach people it's time to trust their bodies, time to trust their instincts, and to keep it simple.
Okay, before we go back to Barbara, Selina, I have a question for you. Regarding salt, this might be a little bit controversial. Regarding your sourcing of your salt, how do you avoid the impurities, or how do you know that what you're getting, how do I ask this? Because it was asked to me, but I didn't quite know how to even start with it. Basically, they irradiate everything that comes through the mail these days. How do you know that the salt you have isn't full of toxic radiation? And this might be a stupid question, but I got to ask.
Well, we have the salt tested. We have a lot of analysis done on all of our salts. We get a C of A, which is a certificate of analysis of all the salts that come in. They do not radiate our salt the way it comes in with the freight forwarder that we have. They don't radiate it. But there are concerns about all the different things that come up. The hoops that we've kind of jumped through throughout the years it goes all the way to mercury, microplastics, lead. Right now, that's probably the big things that we constantly get questioned on. And so we have the salt analyzed to prove that we can assure the quality is in there. The heavy metals, especially the lead right now, because lead occurs in soil. I mean, there's lead in carrots, there's lead in celery. And one of our sources, which is from France, has a lot of clay in it because the lining of the salt flats is clay. And there is a naturally occurring lead in clay. So, everything that we have, I mean, I don't take all these heavy metals or toxics out, but I do test to make sure that, there's not any kind of toxic levels in there, in the salt. That is why I have source salts from all over the world, is because you never know what can happen to a region. Anything could happen, a hurricane, an oil spill, anything. So I take the responsibility of making sure if somebody is saying I need to eat Celtic sea salt, I'm taking the responsibility to make sure that I have a source of it always. And so that's why I source from all over the world. So everybody can always trust the salts, and I'm very transparent with all of my analysis.
Awesome. Okay, that was a question that actually came up on my show about a week ago. So I'm glad I can respond now. All right, back to Barbara. I need your help with iron. This person says, I need your help with iron. I currently do your tea for help absorption. I eat a lot of beans and nuts. I take Floridix because I menstruate. Is this a good source?
Yeah, the Floridix is a easily absorbable iron. But one question that is not often asked and must be number one question is why. So if someone's iron levels are low, we need to investigate, and the investigation could be maybe a heavy monthly period, and if that is true, then that person will need to take the yam cream, apply the yam cream, which will balance the hormones and get the heavy monthly blood loss down. Or the cause of anemia, low iron, could be low hydrochloric acid, and that's where the bitter tea that my daughter sells at barbaraandil.com, that can boost hydrochloric acid. So I always look at history and find out, now, why would these things be so?
Cool. Mike, I got a question for you. What makes you different in terms of a DJ? I mean, why can't we hire a guy in Asheville? Um, what makes your music so much different than what you're going to be playing at this event?
Great question, Billy. One, so I've been playing a lot of these events. And I'll be actually DJing in Anarchapulco. I'll be playing at Confluence. And so I'm really in tune with this community and this idea of around sovereignty and health and wellness. So I've been a underground house DJ for a long time. I've played in all the hip spots in LA, and like technically I have the skills to do that, but I have the spirit and the know-how and the sensibility and the intuition to really feel what conscious people want. So I play to that. So I won't be dropping F-bombs and like gangster stuff and like, it's going to be really in tune with the consciousness and the vibe and the flow of this community. I played like the Burning Man events and that stuff too. And it's not on that level either. It's a wholly different, unique sound. And so great question though. I really appreciate that. And and I've been sober for a long time too. So and so it's really fun to play to like a healthy, sober crowd, especially like a morning get up and get moving type of set. So yeah, it's a very unique kind of style and temperament, and you don't find a lot of DJs that really know how to play to this sort of thing.
I'm really looking forward to that because I was like, okay, Jax was kind of telling me how each day was going to go, and I was thinking she's got like you got to get people up and move, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, how are we going to do this, man? Yeah, I'm interested. I can't wait to find out. All right, back to Selina. It says your company carries a variety of salts from around the world. This is a great question. Which one is your personal favorite and why? Uh, are we
You
there?
gotta unmute yourself, Selina.
Sorry. I have a few, but the one from Hawaii, because the water and the islands of Hawaii are very alkaline. So the one from Hawaii called Makai Pure is very alkaline and it's very high in calcium. So I really like that one. It's a very big crystal, so it's not very user friendly. You do have to use the grinder for it. It's not like a finishing salt. But I like that one. But then there's another one that's a pink potassium salt that comes from Spain, and it's a sustainable mountain that when it rains, these salt crystals, these salt sickles kind of form, and that's the salt. But it's a very high potassium salt. So sometimes I'll even mix those two with some lemon water and make my own little Gatorade with all my electrolytes, and that's it. And then the finishing salt, and when I cook with the most is my gourmet kosher salt, and that's from Guatemala. Those are my favorites.
Awesome. Back to Barbara. I just paid $2,000 for Cellucor to detoxify my cells because they say you can't heal your body until you detox. What's your advice on this? Because I haven't started the plan yet.
Well, the good news is that our body, if given the right conditions, is naturally detoxing every day. We've got a liver that effectively does it. We've got our organs of elimination that effectively eliminate. And there are some people who have been exposed to a lot of chemicals, a lot of environmental poisons. They will need to detox probably a little heavier than others. So again, it depends on the person. If there's anything I've learned here in my many years of being on planet Earth, is never to be absolute. And I believe everyone should be their own doctor. And so if a person is implementing the sustain me principles and not quite getting the results, maybe it's because it would do them well to go through a couple of days of detoxing. Maybe they need to look at the house they're living in, mold exposure, chemical exposure. So it's getting back to investigation and listening to the body and seeing what works. If someone's very underweight, they have to be careful on detoxification because their body if they're underweight, needs to be built up a bit. So again, it's difficult to give an absolute answer. It's more depends on the person.
Okay, another question. This is another one that was asked of me, but I'm going to direct it to you. So, what are your thoughts on red light therapy and also pulse electric magnetic field mats?
I think they have a place. I think they have a place again. Like a very good friend of mine was recently hit in the back of the head with a tree that came down. Now, when someone's sustained a serious injury, those pulsing magnetic mats, they can play a role in, we really need a boost of healing coming to these areas. And there are a few modalities that can help to boost, like hyperbaric chambers. Yes, maybe a little bit of fasting. It depends again on the person. Physiotherapy plays a big role. Maybe osteopathy. So you can see there's a few modules that can come in to help. And the red light therapy, I think that can certainly play a role too. At our health retreat in Australia, we use steam saunas, but the red light therapy certainly can play a role.
Okay, what kind of oil can be used for a diffuser to clean air?
Well, I guess it depends on if someone says to clean air, what would be in the air. So one would think, well, maybe mold. If it's mold, to clean the air, the clove essential oil, thyme essential oil are two very strong antifungal, anti-mold essential oils. Also lavender. Lavender is a very calming essential oil to put in an oil diffuser. If there's sickness in the home, everyone's coughing, an oil diffuser for that could be something like tea tree, eucalyptus oil, maybe a couple of drops of oregano. So again, it depends on what would be in the air and why you would want to clean it.
Wonderful. Mike, you might have already answered this, but this is a little more precise. It says, what kind of music will you be playing for the rebounding trampoline event?
Yeah, I answered it in the chat. It's going to start a little chill and we're going to build up. And it's going to energetic, fun, light, uplifting, soulful. I always bring soul and little funk and a lot of natural and global elements. You can so I bring in a lot of like Latin and African vibes, and you can find me on SoundCloud at DJ, was it DJ Winner, I believe. I'll drop the link in the chat.
So cool. A little bit of William Tell's overture.
Yes. Yes. Dun. Yeah, we're going to start out like that.
Fantastic idea. I love that. See, that's perfect because it's the whole thing is one giant crescendo. So yeah, it might actually work for a rebounding event. Wow. Okay, so let's move on to, okay, Selina, here's another one that I can't believe I didn't think of asking you, but how important is salt for the body? How many minerals does Celtic sea salt contain? And I guess in comparison to others out there, if you even would know such a thing, what is the difference between pink Himalayan salt and Celtic salt?
Well, first of all, salt is very important for the body. I mean, it's our charge, it's our electrolyte, and your body can go into shock without salt, so that's the first thing. But you shouldn't be taking sodium chloride without the minerals attached to it, because then you're not assimilating the sodium chloride properly. That's basically that. What was the other one? Oh, a difference between Celtic and Himalayan. The Himalayan salt has about 97.6% sodium chloride, and the alkalinity is about 7. And that's all I have to say about the Himalayan salt. I have 3 analysis of different sources. I never brought the Himalayan salt in because I go visit all of my salt sources, and I didn't want to go to Pakistan to go really visit that source. And when the analysis came back, it didn't seem so superior that I really needed to investigate and go see that source. And that's really why I didn't bring the Himalayan salt in. What was the other question? There were 3.
No, I think you pretty well
Okay.
got them. Yeah, they were kind of, it says, yeah, you answered the first. How many minerals does Celtic
Oh, how
salt?
many minerals? The major minerals, like I said, is sodium, chloride, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Those are the major minerals, which is so beautiful because look what Creator did. The ocean, those are the major minerals of the ocean, and our human plasma, those are the major minerals of our entire body fluid. So it's pretty awesome that you know that that's how we're supposed to eat sodium chloride is with the same minerals that mimics our own plasma. And that's it. How many minerals are in it? There's a whole bunch. There's about 82 other trace minerals. They are not just minerals, they're trace minerals, but trace minerals are just as important as other minerals, and they should only be consumed in a trace form because you don't need that much in it, kind of like homeopathics. You don't need to have a whole bunch of boron, but it is nice to have a little balance of boron in all of these minerals. And I
Well,
have the analysis. If anybody wants them, you can see them on our website.
now this next one is addressed for Barbara or Jax. Let's go over to Jax for a minute. Yeah, because she thought she was going to get away without answering any questions. So, Jax, what are the causes of so many men and women of all ages having hormonal problems, and what can be done to improve these hormone issues?
Okay, so a lot of the times these endocrine disruptors are from toxins in our foods, plastics, environment, stress can disrupt all our hormones. A lot of times, men who are very angry are actually more estrogenic. I don't know if people know that, but it tends to make men really estrogenic and angry. And it's usually a liver issue. For women, there's just so much fake estrogen coming from, again, like there's certain foods that actually are very estrogenic. And it's the glyphosate that actually can really affect our hormones. So how can we remedy that? We'll stop you doing those things that will disrupt those hormones. So stop eating the toxic corn, stop eating the bad oils. A lot of those seed oils are going to affect the hormones. There are a lot of different herbs that I really like for balancing those hormones. But I'm also going to look at the adrenal glands, kind of reduce the stress. So some of my favorite herbs are black cohosh, dang quai. Let's see. I also like wild yam, but I also like rosemary and even doing magnesium. It's very helpful for calming the adrenal glands and helping with estrogen. Now, with women, when they hit menopause, those hormones kind of go down. So focusing on foods that are going to balance progesterone and estrogen. So there's amazing foods that, like, for example, flaxseed can help with estrogen, right? And boost our estrogen. And again, when we are dealing with hormones, we can't just say, oh, I have a hormonal issue, it's menopause or this and that, and accept it as it is, as if it's normal. It's not normal. We weren't made to not handle menopause. We were not made to not handle our cycles. Men, the sperm count is going down. Again, that's from those toxins that are coming from foods. And unfortunately, inoculations are part of it. So really cleaning up the environment, the foods, the toxicity in your homes. What you put on your skin is also going to have a great effect because it's going to affect the liver, and the liver is your filter, the biggest filter, right? And the skin is going to, everything you put on the skin is going to go right through the liver. So really being mindful about the foods that you put in, and as well the chemicals that go in your hair, the face, what soap you're using, filtering your water system as well in your shower. Because if you're taking a shower with chlorine, right there, it's going to affect your hormones.
All right. Mike, during this Sustain Me event, what personal message about sovereignty would you like people to take home?
Oh, good question. Really, it's about the inside out. Stop outsourcing to others, to officialdom, to MDs, to anybody that you feel is a quote unquote expert, it's good to obviously listen to those who have done the work. And, you know, like Jax was just showing, she has a great knowledge around what she's specialized in, and we should appreciate that. But in the end, it's about taking in that, learning how to really grow your discernment, and then get to know yourself better and trust yourself and get in touch with nature and who you truly are. And then the inside out process will lead you towards a beautiful, sovereign life. So that's sort of what my message is.
Love it. Remember, y'all, MD does not mean medical deity. So, okay, Barbara, how do you feel about light therapy in the winter?
About light in the winter?
Light therapy in the winter.
Yes, I think our best light therapy is outside. You can probably tell that I'm half sitting in the sun right now, but there are countries that don't have a lot of sun. But the fact is that they've never had a lot of sun. What's happening today is people are spending too much time indoors. We should be outside more, outside. I do understand if someone's living in the cities, and of course this is what happened in the 1890s, is 80% of children living in North London had rickets, and they all put it down to lack of vitamin D. Mind you, it took them about 50 years to discover that. But unfortunately today, especially in Australia, people are told, don't go in the sun, don't go in the sun, because you're going to get skin cancer. You know, they have found that its lack of vitamin D is a big contributing factor to skin cancer. So we've got to do a bit of, you know, something that's been lost today is common sense. Obviously, if you go out in the sun too much, you're going to be burnt. I've got what they call milky skin, light skin. So when I go out into the sun, I take my watch with me and I time how long I'm in the sun. Otherwise, I will be burnt. But I think because of technology, people's eyes are on technology much more. They're not outside in the sun. Sometimes light therapy might play a role if the person just cannot get out in the sun, but I'm a bit of a back to nature hippie lifestyler. That's my roots, that I like to use the sun.
Barbara, would you also say that's the qualitative aspect of the sun at certain times of day, the infrared in the morning, and is so much more healthy than like the ultraviolet? You know, there's benefits to the ultraviolet, and that a lot of people just aren't getting that morning sun anymore. That's why farmers are so damn healthy, because farmers are up with the sun, and they're getting they're getting that infrared in their eyeballs, gazing at the sun.
That's right. And God paints such a beautiful picture. He's drawing our eyes to that early morning sun. Yes, that certainly gets back to a lot of people aren't getting enough sleep. They go to bed too late and they miss that early morning light. Middle of the day, the sun is the strongest, but it's actually the most potent. But you don't need very much in the middle of the day. So absolutely, that's where our common sense comes in.
Okay, last question. Barbara, can castor oil help get rid of a complex endometriosis, ovarian cyst, and endometriosis? Thank you so much.
Well, I can be very absolute on this answer. Absolutely. Castor oil penetrates very, very deep and it breaks up unnatural formations. But at the same time, one needs to know why they're there. And they're there because of the hormonal imbalance that Jax just mentioned. So you might notice in the sustain me principles, A means abstain. You got to stop. You got to stop what's causing this imbalance. So yes, use the castor oil. Stop what's bringing in, you know, causing the imbalance. And also remember Psalm 104 verse 14, God made herbs for the service of man. Start to use those herbs that Jax talked about that can work with the body to bring back hormonal restoration.
All righty. So Jax, I guess I'll throw it back to you if you want to put bookends on this whole thing. I want to thank everybody for showing up and thank all of our speakers that are going to be at this event. Back over to you, Jax.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for coming and joining us in this event tonight. And I just wanted to end with a verse, Isaiah 46:4, and the verse says, "I am He I am he who will sustain you. I have made you, I will carry you, I will sustain you, and I will rescue you. So, with that prayer, I will end this webinar and just say more gratitude to you all. And thank you so much for allowing me to be your host tonight.
Thank you.
O'clock. But if there's any questions, I'll be happy to field the questions real quickly. Go ahead and hammer me.
All right, let's see. Is that okay, Jax?
Yeah,
Or
that's fine.
okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna have to scroll through here and find it. Now, I think maybe we announced that you weren't in. Somebody had just, okay, no, it says right here. Okay, what inspired you to publish the cipher? And me and my husband read the cipher and study about it. But for the people, sorry, the syntax is a little bit weird here. But for the people that don't read it, what is the cipher and dose it? I think they mean, does it differ from the King James?
Oh, yeah, it's it's an 87 book collection, and it's really quite distinct from the KJV. And it's distinct in the respect that there were some rules imposed on the KJV that we disregarded. And one of the rules we disregarded was to use the vulgar names, and we transliterated 3,100 names. That's a huge difference. Another is that we set out the transliteration of the true names that you find in the Hebrew, which is Elohim and Yahweh, which has been replaced by God and Lord. And then there's many textual changes that have been made because there were substantial problems in the text. We found many texts that were, for the most part, that were accurate, but not as accurate as they could be. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that over 400 years, some of the words have become ambiguous. And so we cleared up the ambiguity with what the word actually meant. In addition to that, we have other books that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance, that had not been found 400 years ago when the KJV was published, like Enoch and Jubilees. There's been other texts that have been also verified, like Jasher, like Second Baruch, and of course the 29th chapter of the book of Acts, which wasn't found until the 1800s. And so all of these things really needed to be incorporated into the text. And so it's a substantial difference from the KJV.
Awesome.
Well, also, I study from the Interlinear Bible, which has the original Greek and Hebrew and direct translation of English underneath.
Yeah, the interlinear, I mean, we use the interlinear text for many of our translations. One of the things that I found difficulty about the interlinear is that, first of all, in the Greek, pardon me, in the Greek, the semantics in the Koine Greek are pretty difficult. Like when you look at the interlinear, you'll often see, depending on the tense of the phrase and on the case of the phrase, whether it's accusative or descriptive or genitive or whatever the case may be, it's going to make a difference as to where the adjective may appear or the adverb or the article. And so the question is, what is describing what in the Greek is a real question. And it can result with some pretty disparate conclusions. We found a lot of that in Paul, for instance. And in the Ivrit, you also have implications in the Hebrew that are not in the text, for instance. And of course, when you look at the Hebrew again, when you compare the Strong's Concordance to the Hebrew, you often see different spelled words in the Hebrew than you do in the Strong's. And that's because the words are accompanied with prefixes and suffixes, all of which have incredible amounts of meaning to the words. And so you have to be able to rightly divide the Hebrew to reach determination as to what exactly is being said. And in some cases, it was a radical departure from the earlier translations. For instance, there is no Lucifer found in the text, to give you one example.
Or hell.
Yeah. And so if these kinds of things, so when you look at that, we wanted to go back to, we used a real kind of authoritarian, objective approach. We're going to translate this just like this. Now, it's fine to be objective, but when you're dealing with Hebrew, It's really much more of an amorphous mass than it is a plane of A or B. It's not a binary choice. It's an unraveling onion, if you will. And so to understand that is to recognize that there are exceptions to the rules, and you have to be able to read with discretion, both in the Hebrew and the Greek, to understand what's being said carefully. And so, it's an ongoing process. It's a living script, and it requires a great deal of work to stay on top of what's actually there.
All righty. Well, sticking around was worth it just to hear that again. I feel like a complete dunce after you just said about the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm like, how? I can't believe I never thought of that. I mean, it's as simple as that is. I mean, like the kids. Anyway, I can't wait to hear you in person. Oh, wow.
Well, I'll tell you, initially when you first hear me, it's going to be drinking from a fire hose. I mean, I have to warn you about that. It'll be drinking from a fire hose, but after a while, you'll get to where you'll be able to deal with it. And because the truth is that you cannot believe the kinds of things I have discovered. You just would not believe them. Like, I'll just give you a quick example. The name Adam, right? Adam. Okay, so in the Hebrew, there are a group of prefixes. Aleph is one of the prefixes, and it means I will be. And so can you divide the Aleph from the word? So in Hebrew, Aleph, Adam is spelled Aleph Dalet Mem. Well, is Dalet Mem a word? Yes, it's a word. It's Dam, and it means blood. And so the word Adam means I will be blood. And this is what Yah called the first man. I will be blood. And when you look at the word for the earth, which is Eretz, it reads, I will be a fragment. When you look at the name Abel, from Cain and Abel, his real name is Havel, which means the lamentation. And so it goes. And these are the kinds of things that we found in rightly dividing the Hebrew to discover what's actually there. And like, for instance, the Our Father prayer, right? The Our Father prayer, very common prayer in Christianity. Who are they talking to when they're talking to Our Father? It's not identified in the New Testament by name. And even when you see the Messiah talking in John chapter 17, his prayer is directed right to the Father, where he says at the end of that prayer, I have declared your name unto them and will declare it, that the love of you that is in me might be in them and I in them. Who is the Father? Well, guess what? It's told to us in 1 Chronicles 29, chapter 10, in David's prayer that begins with, Baruch atah Yahweh Elohai Yasharel Avinu Ma'olam Badolam. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the Elohai of Yasharel, our Father forever and ever. The name is given to us. And go ahead.
I apologize. May I ask you for the correct spelling for Adam's name again? You said.
Yeah, it's just Adam, but in Hebrew, Aleph Dalet Mem. Aleph Dalet Mem.
No, I'm sorry. You said something that sounded like Pavel. Pavel.
Oh, Havel. Yeah,
Havel.
Abel. Yeah.
For Abel. I'm sorry. Yes, for Abel.
Yeah, Abel is Havel.
No, Havel. Havel.
Yeah, that's Havel. That's Abel. Havel is his real name.
Well, my name is Pavel in Polish.
Pavel. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pavel. So it sounded like, did he say Pavel? Because that's my name.
This is something else interesting that we found in the text, right? So Pavel, of course, is Polish for Paul.
Yes.
The Apostle Paul. And the Apostle Paul, whose name was in Hebrew, Shaul. So you think a Hebrew guy would take on the name Paulos in order to be linked with Apollo? No, these were Greek writers that conferred his name that way. He took on the name Paal. Now, Paal is Hebrew for worker. So when they asked him, who are you? I am Paal Ohel. I'm a tent worker. I'm a worker of the testimony of Mashiach. Worker, Paal. So in the Cepher, we spell his name Paal. Paal.
Thank you for that.
Interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Where can we, do you have a website, or where can I look you up?
Sure. You can go to cepher.net, CEPHER.net. I have like 300 videos up. My channel on YouTube is just Stephen Pidgeon, and I just did a video Thursday called Fatal Flaws, Substantial Contradictions in the English Bibles.
Yes. Well, we have to consider who rewrote the Bible.
Yeah, of course. And of course, when you look at the rewrite, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody.
Yeah.
Just that when you see the King James rules that he imposed on the translators, you'll see why there were errors. Because he put restrictions on the translators. You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't do this, and you have to use vulgar terms.
Well, also to make God, whenever they wanted to make, they would put things in like, you're going to burn in hell and whatnot. My original mentor, Dr. Lorraine Day, she wrote a really nice book called Who Rewrote the Bible, and she points out a lot of the things that you also speak about.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And the rewriting, and also you see that there was a time, and this is the difficult part about it, there was a time when the Pope was revered as God on earth. So when you prayed to God, you were praying to the Pope. And when King Henry VIII rejected the Pope and the creation of the Anglican Church, he became God on earth in the English-speaking world. And that's why they used the word Lord, because they were referring to Henry VIII and later to King James, who claimed, I have the divine right of kings and sit on the throne as God on earth. And that was reflected in the text. But we who were not under the authority of the king don't have to respect those decisions. We can look at the original text and see what's there, particularly when the decision of the king contradicts what's written in the text.
And was it him who tried to change the 7-day calendar to 8 days?
No, that was the Romans that tried to do that. There was a period where the Romans tried to change it to an 8-day calendar, but we have proof in some of our research. There's a petroglyph at a place called Knowth in Ireland. That is a petroglyph that goes back to approximately about 1500 BC. And that petroglyph shows on the glyph a depiction of a 7-day week.
Oh, okay.
Site New Grange has 52 stones at its base that are 10 feet wide by 4 feet wide, right? 10 feet long by 4 feet wide. There's 52 stones and a day marking the winter solstice. It tells you they had a 52 7-day week with the winter solstice marking the 365th day. That's in an ancient megalith in Ireland. So this pretty much substantiates that the 7-day week has been kept from time immemorial, time out of mind, if you will. And it was manipulated, of course, by Rome.
Wow, thanks so much for that. I'm looking forward to seeing you here at this thing. Jax, what do we do at this point?
Yep, I guess right now we're gonna dismiss everybody, and I have the portion of Dr. P recorded, so we will edit it and put it into our final recording.
Excellent. Thank you, Jax. I really appreciate it. Nice meeting you, Pavel. Nice meeting you guys. It's great to see you. Looking forward to the conference. We will be there. And then remember, you can always tell me we've had enough. Don't talk anymore. Okay.
Oh no, I can fall asleep listening to you. And that's a good thing.
Okay.
And that's a good thing. Yeah.
All right, everyone. I'm gonna say good night.
Good night, Jax. Thank you for organizing everything.
Take
You're
care.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.